Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. That must mean it's time for your Calamity Jane weekly live stream. I got the order wrong. Also, it's a Monday. Close enough. How's it going,
It's
James?
close enough. It's going great. How are you?
I am doing well. We were talking offline a little bit, just kind of plucking at my bass a little bit before we got on the stream, learning a very simple but awesome bass groove from Donovan's Season of the Witch.
So, is that a well-known song? I mean, am
If
I
you
gonna?
heard it, you would absolutely know it.
Okay.
Yes, if you heard it, you
Yeah.
would absolutely. I mean, if you
Sounds
listen
familiar.
to
Just the title.
if you listen to
No?
classic rock at all,
Oh, then I've got.
you
I've had to have heard it.
okay, you would. I've definitely heard it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
All
just
right.
this season. I'm a horrible. I can't sing unless I have like something backing me.
Yeah, I get you.
I mean, I can sing a
And
few
I'm a
songs without
terrible.
that. Yeah, I mean, I'm
I
just not a
can't
trained
back you.
singer.
I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a I'm a lead singer only. Sorry.
Oh,
Can't
okay,
back you.
right. You just yeah. When
And
you
you
go
just
anywhere, you park
fall
like a
on
rock
me.
star. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, So for tonight, a couple. I don't know. It's a subtle change, but you can see I have earbuds in.
Oh, here we go.
I discovered on my Mac Mini that I've been, a while back I started streaming from the Mac Mini, right? I got this like last year. It's been okay. It's been okay for our streams and stuff so far. But I had my earbuds plugged into my PC laptop, and then just for the longest time I've been just going without any earbuds and just doing it. But Eric on Eric's side, and so for our tens of viewers who happen to watch our
All tens
stream,
of them.
all tens or 20s.
We have 20 subscribers, so.
Yeah, that's true, but I'm trying to round down because it's got to go down back down.
Oh,
Let's
you need
go
to
with
be
the
more
averages.
optimistic than that.
But if anybody watches, then on Eric's side, he always like hears like a kind of a tinny sound or something like that. So we've been wanting to try to get me to do some earbuds or earphones, and I thought, well, the Mac Mini doesn't have any ear jacks, but it does. And I'm a fool. I just didn't notice this little small hole underneath one of the jacks, and so I've tried that tonight. So now I have accessories tonight
Ooh, fancy.
to go
Very
ahead with.
fancy.
Yeah, so that's one topic out of the way that hopefully maybe it makes our stream that much easier on the ears,
I'm sure.
compared to my lead singing, for
Well,
sure.
yeah, that's true, but we won't bust into song right now.
So yeah, so I've got that going on. I can pick up where we left off last week, and I'll keep going forward
That
with
sounds good.
animation.
That sounds good.
Um, and then no sponsors this week. I'm just drinking just boring coffee. No non-sponsors this week. I'm just drinking boring coffee. So
Okay. Now on the as we mentioned on the West Coast, it's still 6:30 in the evening, and so you're a big coffee guy, huh?
I kind of am. Not well, actually, no, I'm not. I've actually sworn off coffee. I'm drinking this mushroom coffee these days.
Okay.
I do drink coffee in once in a while. For some reason, I was a little tired on a Monday, so I'm drinking normal coffee right now. That's all. So just to wake myself up a little bit. But I've been doing the mushroom coffee thing. So you're a coffee drinker too, aren't you?
What? Yeah, I am. What is mushroom coffee?
So it's I'm drinking this stuff called mud water.
Mud water. Okay.
I think I
Okay.
sent you a link to
Yeah,
some.
I'm familiar.
Yeah,
This kind of a coffee supplement type drink.
yeah. It's not it supposedly helps you with the ingredients are all mushroom. It's all mushroom, pretty much mushroom based, but with the also there's also cinnamon and stuff like that. But I think like I'll name a couple of them. Like it's chaga mushroom is one of them. Um, yeah, there's like that type of mushrooms are in it, and it's supposed to help you with focus and stuff like that. But if I want a quick jolt, it's good. So don't get me wrong. But with coffee, the problem was is it kind of I get a little as I get older. I've been getting a little bit more acidy, refluxy stuff. It's not fun getting old. So I had to switch out and went with mushroom coffee, and it does the trick. It helps me with my focus and everything else. Supposedly I think, but um, it's good. It's been fine. It kind of does this thing, but coffee still gets me awake faster if I want to drink it. And so well, once in a while I'll drink it, like for tonight, and I'll hang out with you. So
Hey, you got to be
um,
fully awake for my scintillating rants.
yeah. Um, as far as last week's concerned, I'm gonna go with just this. Like I remember I had to do. Let me do an undo real quick, and I'll show you. I had this post. I had these two posts to choose from. I'm just gonna
Hmm.
go with. Boom, that one's gone. I'm gonna go with this one.
Making an
That one's what
executive
feels.
decision.
Yes, I'm making the executive decision. I'm gonna go with this post, and I'll keep going from here. and we are going to, and I'll scroll through timeline. We're going to go through where Calamity, I'll pull it aside. Calamity will plug in and feed Tinsel. So that's kind of where I'm at. So it looks like I've got about one more pose really to kind of get through to kind of get the scene blocked in. I mean, there's a couple extra drawings you can see here and there.
Yeah, yeah, but the main
but the
pose
main
is,
pose,
yeah.
yes, is right there. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at tonight. Yeah. As far as us talking, I wanted to kind of get us on this too because this is sort of like a. I need to give you kudos for. We'll get the competition started with kudos with Mario Rabbids game that you told me about a
Yes.
while back, and I played on my Switch, and that game is awesome. But on the flip side, I feel like I should give myself self-patting kudos because you put the game down forever because you were stuck.
It was
And I'll leave
stuck.
it at
Yeah.
that.
Oh, well, I mean, there's 4 worlds, and I think there's like 9 subsections, which each was there like 2 or 3 fights. I don't know. It's more granular than I need to really get. But the to make a long story short, too late. I was within like something like an hour from the end of the game, and I hit a stage that I couldn't beat, and the stage I couldn't beat it because I came in with my team and all the HP was super low, and they were, the enemies were killing me in one hit because I just the previous battle just took it out of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like, back in the old days as a kid playing shareware games, and there were these.
Shareware
You
games.
remember those, right?
Yes, I do. Oh
Uh,
man, that's pretty horrific. You're at
I
that point.
mean, I'm,
Gee.
and you would like, you'd play some of these games and they're awful, and they'll like, you'll have an HP bar, but then it'll checkpoint when you have like 1 HP, right? And so you have
Yeah.
to start a
Mm-hmm.
stage with 1 HP, and it's basically unplayable because they don't account for someone making progress but not doing it well, right? Like
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I thought I had hit that kind of wall, and as we've discussed on our stream before, I tend to abandon ship really quick. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things that can occupy my time. For instance, I was playing my bass 5 minutes before we got on the
Mm-hmm.
stream. I have this
Mm-hmm.
stream to do. I watched,
Yeah.
the movie The Edge of Tomorrow again. Live, Die, Repeat, I guess is what it's called now. Which, by the way, is
Okay.
amazing. Aside,
Mm-hmm.
I have a million
Mm-hmm.
things I can do. Right? I have a
Yeah.
million and one hobbies, and so I'm one of these people who you have like 1.5 strikes, and then I'm moving on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried this battle multiple times and just kept losing. And then we started talking about it, and you were like, "This is so weird. I don't know why you're struggling with this so much. Can't you just press the Y button and recover all your health and get a 50% health boost?" I'm like, James, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have
and
literally no idea what you're talking about.
you were pretty much saying, did you set the difficulty to easy mode? I
Right.
go,
Yeah, I know. I started by asking like, did you? And you're like, no, there's no difficulty. You just press the Y button before a battle, and you get all your health back, plus a 50% boost. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I literally, I got the game out. I held it up to the screen, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And you said, there, right there. And I looked, and sure enough, on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, it says, press the
oh
Y button to get
man.
your health back. I had played through all but an hour of the game,
Oh
not
jeez.
knowing that that was there.
Yeah, it's crazy because you really do live by your creed of saying,
Oh
I'm not going
yeah,
to play a game for whatever XYZ reason. And that's it. You're done. It's like, oh my gosh, you're like right at the finish line. It's right in front of you.
yeah.
So
So
yeah.
I
So what's
pressed
the
the Y
verdict? Did you?
button. I
You
pressed the Y
did.
button, and I
Yes.
finished that mission, no problems. It wasn't even a challenge. The only reason it was a
Yeah.
challenge is because all my characters came in with 1 hit worth of HP. But it's
Yeah.
miraculous how
Yeah.
easy it becomes when you get all of your HP back plus a
Yeah.
50% boost. And there's no
Yeah.
limit. There's no punishment for doing it. It's a you determine your own difficulty for a particular mission, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so me, I hate hard mode. I always put everything on easy, right?
Except for Mario Rabbids because
Except
you've
for
been playing
Mario,
that game on hard
I
mode.
played that on accidental hard mode the whole way through. I wish I had known about it. There were some earlier missions that if I had known about it would have gone a hell of a lot easier. But
Yeah.
what are you gonna
Yeah.
do? So yeah, so I beat that one. I'm on 4.7 or 4.8 now.
Okay.
and I'm making progress. You know,
All right.
so I'm
Cool.
getting to the end game here. But yeah, so yeah, that was not my finest moment. I've had finer video game moments, and that was not one of them.
This is one of those things where I was gonna fault the UI a little bit, but for me, this is purely central to your own perception of how the game is made, I guess. But for me, I saw it, so therefore the UI is fine, you know.
I
But it's
think
interesting because with you, with how much we both you and I between us, we play a lot of games
yeah.
for the most part. We sample not as much as back when we were younger, but we still games are still pretty prevalent. But
I would
yeah, I'm
argue that we play
surprised.
more games than the average citizen does.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I'm surprised though that for you didn't catch it on that game for X amount of hours you played it. For me, I saw it pretty early. Um,
I couldn't even begin to explain to you why I didn't notice it.
mm,
I think there is maybe not necessarily a fault of the UI because ultimately I did see it. Once you
yeah,
pointed it out to me, it's not like it's
yeah,
invisible.
yeah,
I would actually argue that it's more of a UX design flaw, um, because the prompt goes away
yeah.
once
It
it's
does go
done
like this. Yeah,
reviewing the battle map. And like any good gamer, I don't really care about reviewing the battle map. I just want to get into the game. And if you
yeah,
press the A button, it skips past the map overview,
hmm
and then you lose the ability. So you can only recover your HP and get the boost if you press the Y button during the map flyover.
yeah. And
And if
it's
you
only lasts for like what, a few seconds or
Yeah,
something.
4 or 5 seconds at most, right? And then it goes into the mission.
Hmm
Um, and so that's a UX problem, right? I mean, like I think the UI could have been done better, but I think the actual solution would have been to modify the user experience,
hmm
so that it wasn't tucked away in a corner on a non-interactive sequence that players are likely going to press the A button to skip through.
hmm
I think that that's why I missed it is because I don't, I just immediately go to the tactical camera and scroll around the map. I don't,
Yeah, sure.
that sort of that visual flyover is cool looking, but it doesn't
Yeah,
actually help me strategize, right? And so I
yeah.
would always just skip past it right away. And because
hmm
I did that, I never saw the press Y to get back HP thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
So
think, yeah, it could. Another thing that may have helped a user see it is the placement of it is in the lower left, so you already kind of are ignoring that area of the screen because you want to see your eyes always going to the golden middle rectangle area of the screen. And also, like during the when you lose a match, like it'll usually give you like little tips that most people will kind of skip over anyway. So it may not be the best place, but you could put a tip in there saying, "Hey, by the way, hit your Y button if you're struggling on this map," because they give you every other tip to help you if you're struggling on a map. Why not tell you that right off the bat?
Well, I mean, I feel like the simple solution is after the flyover, you get a screen that you've got that go to the tactical map, start the battle, or change your team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can't update your health or anything at that point, and
Yeah.
I understand it because by that point, all of the map is loaded. The enemies are there, the characters are there,
Yeah.
all the
Mm-hmm.
stats have been determined,
Yeah.
right? If there were some way to pause the game before it loaded in all of the metrics for the characters and go, okay, do you want this? But see, this is why UX is so hard because then I also understand how frustrating that would be for hardcore players who are constantly
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I don't want this. Stop asking me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I get the instinct for why they put it on the map flyover and then disabled it after that point, given the effectively the state machine of the game flow, right?
Yeah.
So I understand why they chose that solution, but in that respect, then what they should have done is, well, even then, that becomes an aesthetic issue. If you put it much bigger on the screen, then you're defeating the purpose of the map flyover in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I can see all of the delicate balance, of trying to make all these pieces fit together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would argue, that you could solve the problem by adding a bit of a seam in. So you get to the start match screen and you press the Y button and it just quickly reloads with your new metrics, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it pauses, reloads with the new metrics, and then the game can go on. But honestly, you know, and this is like this. Now we're just getting into the design weeds, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You don't
yeah.
really need to do that. You could. These are all just variables that you can modify in real time. You could press the Y button, get your HP back and everything, and just it can just update it in real time. Your
Yeah.
HP goes up and down as you play the match, and you take damage and you heal.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think it was a matter of visual confusion of not seeing that instant feedback.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I have been. This like I literally just took all sides of a design meeting that I've been in on multiple occasions. Like I literally just went around the table and heard everybody's point of view on the best way to approach this issue.
Yeah, yeah,
And you know, it's an interesting thing because there's always this behind the scenes technical reason why they had to do it a particular way, or there's an
yeah,
aesthetic
yeah.
reason why they had to do it, and
Sure.
it's always this negotiation between aesthetics,
Yep.
design, and engineering and technical,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's you know I think it would be boring for most people to watch one of these meetings occur, but if you are involved in
This.
that process, it's actually that's the exciting part of making video games is that negotiation in the
Yeah.
meeting room.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a really good team and there's some really good ideas being tossed around, or and people have a general the camaraderie is really good with the team is awesome. Sitting through stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
but then you also
it
have
happened.
what's that?
Yeah. Yeah. And it happens. It just happens with yeah, it happens all the time with in production. It could happen with animation. It could happen with games. Writer's room.
Oh yeah, no,
Um,
any sort of room of creatives like
yeah.
that's where the exciting part comes in. I mean, you're absolutely right. A writer's room, the most fun is when everybody's together and
Yep.
beating out the story. It's boring when the writer who's assigned to the episode has to then take all of the beats that they've got and then turn it into a script, right? Like that's the boring part. The
Yeah.
fun part is everybody in the room creating in real time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's the same way with games. You know, the best part is when you make a decision and then your teams go off unified in their decision, and then they make it a reality, and then you review that reality, right? Like it's a great feeling, and it's a shame that so many development studios have this kind of. I'm not a believer in a flat structure. I think you do
Hmm.
need a hierarchy, but I
Yeah.
think that there needs to be a balance struck between straight up dictatorship and straight up like Greek democracy, right?
Hmm.
Um, and it is a fine balance. You need someone steering the ship, but at the same time, that person needs to be trust his team, his or her team enough to recognize when there's a good idea that didn't come from them, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
worst games I've ever worked on are the ones where the creative director or the lead designer or whoever is the one who ultimately gets to make the decision, executive producer, what have you, thinks that they're the smartest person in the room.
So
There's
that's a dictator. That's a dictator
that's a
model, pretty
straight
much.
dictator model, and they're
Yeah.
happy to hear ideas as long as those
Yeah.
ideas agree with what they've already decided is the right way to go, right?
Yeah. 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 Um. But to get back to Mario Rabbids,
Yeah,
though,
sorry,
it's a
that was a real inside baseball on game development there.
yeah. But I mean, we kind of bring it back. I mean, we can still keep going down
Oh no no no,
the
that's fine.
down the
I'm
path of.
everybody's already asleep at this point, so we can talk about whatever we want to now.
I'm wide awake. I'm drinking coffee, so I'm good now.
Yeah, well,
But we can't go back to Mario Rabbids in a sense because it feels like I mean that was definitely a collaboration because Nintendo had the property, and then I don't know anything about the game director. But you were telling me some stories offline about the game director that made it. I'm just raving about. I want to rave about the game a little bit because I think the game is really well made. It should be, if you have a Nintendo Switch and you like tactical based, turn-based type of games, it should be a must in the library for your system. I think. Personally speaking,
I think the only people it's going to disappoint are the hardcore players. Like the people who played XCOM 2 and went, man, this game is easy. Like they're not going to be happy because this is while the core loop is very similar to modern XCOM. It's very simplified. There's no permadeath. There's no massive team building. There's no home base you have to deal with. You basically just go from map to map. You have a team of 3 characters, and then the basic mechanics are similar to XCOM, but it's also not designed to be this impossibly difficult game. I mean, it would not be a Mario game if you were dealing with a difficulty of like say the XCOM games with permadeath and all that nonsense. So anybody who's used to those style of turn-based strategy games and wants something particularly punishing, they will be disappointed, I feel like.
But here's the thing: is it's kind of sad in this regard because I beat the game. I won't try to do any spoilers yet. I'm waiting for you to beat the game, then it'll be kind of fun to we could probably do one more chat about it. But after you beat the game, you do unlock all these other challenges, quote unquote, challenges in each world, I guess. So some of the challenges are pretty hard. I mean, like I was like, what? Like, because I haven't played XCOM yet, but I played my last turn-based game I played was Mutant Year Zero, and that game was unforgiving. Like that game had permadeath. It was insane how hard that game was. Like it really punished you for the wrong decision a lot of times. But I love those kind of games too. So Mario was great because it was very forgiving, it's fun, it's cute, and everything else on top of that. But when you beat the game, they're like the very first challenge it gives you, I can't beat it. I'm very curious if you can, Eric.
No, I won't even try.
Yeah, but it's fun though. It's fun to try, but it is insane. It's like what? Like the difficulty bar just goes right like this, like very first challenge. It's crazy. So it is there, I think, for XCOM players if they wanted to. But
yeah, but they have to play through the entire story mode to get there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
But the thing about those challenges, and it's definitely applicable here in a turn-based strategy game, but almost any game that does these ultra hard challenges, there's only one way to beat it. You have to master that one way to beat it, and get lucky. And I have better things to do with my time, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I would rather watch Fury Road for the 10th time rather than trying to guess at what the level designer was trying to get me to do in order to beat these challenges.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like I love Mario Odyssey, maybe my favorite Mario game of all time. All Mario games, like 2D, 3D, 4D, it doesn't matter, right? But some of the last stages were unbelievably difficult, like just difficult to the point of why right? And the reason is why is you can go on YouTube and watch people master those stages, and then they get huge followings, and it's a big deal, and so there is an audience for it, but it's definitely not me. So I just when I get to those difficult stages, I go, cool, I'm moving on to the next thing.
So wait, did you beat Mario Odyssey?
Yeah, I've played through it twice. I've never done like the darker side of the moon stage, which is just crazy. I've seen people do it on YouTube, and it's just like, why would you commit the hours to beating a single stage of a video game when there are hundreds of video games released practically every month?
Yeah.
Or go watch a great TV show, because there's a lot of good TV out there, and they're finally starting to make good movies again, or build a house. Like, it's
build a house. Wow.
I mean, I'm not. Yeah. It's like I guess that's fine. I don't understand it, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm not judging anybody for spending 20 hours to master a single stage.
But you are questioning. You're questioning.
What I'm saying is I don't understand it personally, right? Like, I also don't understand why people like macrame. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with macrame.
Yeah.
It's just saying I don't like macrame. I don't understand the value add of macrame.
Yeah.
So, that's all.
Yeah. I have Mario Odyssey in my library. It's still sitting on my shelf because I'll eventually get to it. But my main thing now is trying to avoid any games that require 100 hours or more to beat, so I can get
Mm.
to Mario Odyssey. So the next one on my list is Bayonetta 1. I just installed that on my Switch. I've already beat Bayonetta, but it's been 10 years, I think, since it was released or something like that at this point. I feel like it got released in 2011 or
It
something
was
like
on
that.
Xbox and PlayStation 3, so it was a while ago.
Yeah,
I can, of
yeah.
course, also just YouTube or Google Bayonetta release date 2009.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
so
So I think I played it in 2011 or something for some
okay,
reason.
so
Anyways,
13 years thereabouts.
oh my gosh, yeah, it's still fun to play, but it's funny because now I'm playing it with Nintendo after Nintendo owns Bayonetta now. So when you start the game in Bayonetta 1, you'll get options to change your costume. So you can actually change and put Bayonetta in a princess costume or a Samus costume or I think a Daisy costume. It's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, there's a
Or
lot of
Link.
great. Yeah, there's a lot of great character crossover costumes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really funny.
And they have
And
different
then
versions of them for Bayonetta 2. And in
oh, okay.
Bayonetta 2, you can actually raise and lower the Samus Visor's costume during cutscenes. So you can,
Oh, really?
yeah, so you could like sort of like while the cutscenes are going on, you could raise and lower the visor for no reason whatsoever.
I think that's really funny that they, that even as a remap, even after they master the game for the Switch or whatever, they did these kind of hammy little things like that. That's awesome,
Yeah.
It
Well,
kind of makes it fun to play in that regard.
and I don't remember if this is in Bayonetta 1 or 2. I think it's in 2. Um, I don't remember if it's in 1. I know it's in 2. I don't remember if it's in 1.
Mm-hmm.
When you use the Peach costume instead
Mm-hmm.
of the sort of the hair fists and feet that come out of the portals,
Mm-hmm.
it's Bowser's fists and feet that come out of the
No
portals.
way. That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
cool.
it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind too. I'm gonna keep it out for that too. But now I'm playing the game. It actually kind of makes it fresh because now I do want to switch. Now that you told me that, I'm gonna switch costumes every couple of chapters to
Mm-hmm.
see
Mm-hmm.
what new stuff that they did. But it's a fun game. Again, I'm working my way towards Bayonetta 2. But then maybe after Bayonetta 1 2, then I'll go to Mario Odyssey next and then check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those rare ones where Bayonetta 2, in every conceivable way, is better than Bayonetta, and I loved Bayonetta, um, but like they really nailed the formula in 2, and it makes me a little bit concerned because like what I'm afraid of is because it's been so long,
Hmm.
I'm afraid of Godfather syndrome, right? Where Godfather
Oh,
1 is this amazing, unforgettable movie, and then for me at
yeah.
least,
Uh-huh.
somehow, against all odds, they made The Godfather better with The Godfather Part 2,
Uh-huh.
right? And then Godfather Part 3, he cast his daughter as Michael Corleone's daughter. Coppola casts his own daughter as Corleone's daughter, and he gets so obsessed with his own nepotism towards his family in it that he sort of loses sight of what the actual story needs to
Huh.
be.
Yeah, I just
And
did. I just remember I only I recently it's been like 3 years. 3 years ago, I actually watched Godfather 1, 2, and 3. It's the first time I've seen any of them.
mm-hmm.
They're good. Like, so this might be one of those I missed the boat kind of things because I didn't watch it when it came out or whatever. I didn't watch it growing up. Where everybody kind of has it. Yeah, I just feel like it's part of our culture where Godfather is this amazing iconic movie, and I thought it was just a nice movie. I don't understand the allure of
Mm.
Godfather 1 and 2 as much as a lot of people do, but people, I mean, it's like sainthood
I
for
mean,
this movie.
I'm old, but I'm not old enough that I was alive when Godfather 1 came out. That came out in 1974.
Hmm.
And I think Godfather Part 2 came out in 77.
Yeah, but we were kind of in the same era, like we were kind of raised in the 80s slash
Yeah, yeah.
90s, right? And it was still, and even during the 80s and 90s,
Well, yeah, I mean,
everybody
The
always refers
Simpsons,
to.
I mean, not The Simpsons, well, The Simpsons too, but Seinfeld in particular was constantly making jokes about The
Yeah,
Godfather.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, and I think we've talked about this on the stream, so I won't belabor the point. But again, like me not understanding a Godfather 2 joke that Kramer makes in an episode of Seinfeld is what started me on my journey of understanding film, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I feel like and the Godfather trilogy is my mother loves those movies. I mean, yeah, everybody
Hmm.
sort of likes 3 the least, justifiably. It was the weakest of the 3. I think it gets a bum
Uh-huh.
rap though.
Uh-huh.
I think there are great aspects of Godfather 3. I just feel like it got off the rails and it lost its focus.
Hmm.
a little bit. I also think that like Francis Ford Coppola, kind of lost his mojo or his edge as he got older and started having a family. I mean, this is something that happens to a lot of directors, right?
Hmm.
Particularly the directors of that era. I mean, I argue that both Lucas and Spielberg are guilty of that as well. If you look at the kinds of movies that they were making before and after they started having kids,
Hmm.
there was a lot of edge that they lost, right? Now that doesn't happen to all filmmakers, but those
So in
three,
your
yeah,
question for you, so in your mental Rolodex, when did, for example, Spielberg have a family? Like what are the movies that kind of
I think
toggle that?
for me, and I don't know how old his kids are, but the real turning point, and I know he had kids by this point, but the last movie of his I really genuinely liked in any capacity was Minority
Hmm.
Report, and that was like
Yeah,
in 2003, 2002,
yeah, maybe
right?
around there. Yeah.
10 years ago,
Hmm.
something like that.
Hmm.
No, 20
Hmm.
years ago. God, no, it can't be
Hmm.
that long. Hold on.
Yeah.
I was a sophomore at Digipen. So yeah, 2002. Holy crap. Yeah, I nailed it. 2002.
Okay. All right.
That was the last. 20 years ago was the last time that Spielberg made a movie I actually really cared about. And his kids were, if I imagine, I think his kids were probably 8 or 9 by that point.
Uh-huh.
And Lucas's kids were about that age in '99 when the prequel trilogy came out, and
Hmm.
those were very much geared towards much younger. They skewed much younger. Now Lucas always maintains that he wanted to appeal to kids, right? And that's
Hmm.
why he put in all that whimsy in the original film, and especially the latter trilogies. But there's no question that for the most part, especially the Phantom Menace, is a much softer movie. You know, Jar Jar Binks was absolutely an attempt
Yeah. To
to
take
kind
the
of
kids
capture a
and
kid
stuff.
market, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But and so was it accidental that I mean, because he did the whole action figure deal on New Hope way back then, because he
yeah, that
kind of
was
saw that.
Kenner, right?
Yeah,
Right.
he made a deal with Kenner to sell toys to kids, right? So
Sure, but I
I
mean,
mean,
based on that argument, all 6 of those movies should have suffered from the same fate, right?
hmm. Hmm.
But you know, A New Hope and Empire and Jedi were all, they're still beloved films,
Yeah, yeah.
whereas the second trilogy is highly
It just
divisive.
fell, yeah,
Yeah.
it fell off a little bit. Yeah, it's interesting.
And I don't know as much about Coppola, but I mean, he started having kids before Lucas and Spielberg. His kids are much older. Sofia Coppola obviously is, quite an
Yeah.
accomplished director at this point.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it was somewhere between, Apocalypse Now and Godfather Part 3 that, he had his daughter and things started changing for him. And again, I don't think this happens to every director, but all three of those filmmakers are very, very close friends, and they kind of came up in the same era in the same milieu, and so. But then Brian De Palma never got soft, and he's also very close friends with them, and sort of ran in the same circle that they did. So who
Hmm.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. For me, thinking about what my favorite Spielberg movies, where it ended. Um, I feel like Jurassic Park to me, even though it was a huge, overly commercialized film, I just found myself enjoying that movie a lot. Like where I felt like Steven Spielberg still had it.
Yeah,
And then it sort of falling. It started falling off. Like he had Catch Me If You Can. That was okay. But then you have these weird. It felt like weird smatterings of like movies that I didn't really care for Minority Report. I thought it was just all right.
yeah. It wasn't his best
Whereas
movie.
yeah, yeah. But Catch Me If You Can was a good movie. Like it felt really, it felt kind of like more back to his roots kind of a thing. That particular movie, I don't know why, but
Yeah, I agree. It was. It
yeah.
had more
And
of
then
his
but
style.
and then he started doing other stuff like Abe Lincoln. It was boring. I fell asleep during Abraham Lincoln or Lincoln, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think I fault the fact that it's 3 hours long, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna admit this, and maybe it makes me a heretic. I don't like Daniel Day Lewis.
Oh yeah. I think we might as well entertain this one too. I don't know if we talked about this on a
I'm
stream
almost
before.
certain that we have.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I find method acting to be total garbage. Like I
Yeah,
don't buy it.
you
Yeah,
think it's snake oil, right, for actors? Okay.
yeah, I think it's an excuse for actors to behave badly on set. I subscribe to the Anthony Hopkins School of Acting. It's a job.
Yeah, it's a
If you
job.
can't
Yeah.
turn it off and turn it on, then what are you doing wrong? Right? Like you can be passionate about your job without losing yourself to it, you know? And
Yeah.
any actor who says that they can only perform if they completely lose themselves to the role, and and Daniel Day-Lewis is famous for insisting that people call him by his characters' names while
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
filming. It's like I call shenanigans on that. I don't buy
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
So yeah, so as a result, I don't particularly care for Daniel Day-Lewis. Like I didn't like There Will Be Blood. I didn't care for Lincoln. I thought it was overwrought. I thought his obsession, and I don't know if it's Daniel Day-Lewis or Spielberg or the screenwriter who's to blame for this, but their obsession with humanizing Lincoln, it felt
Hmm.
so weird. Like these whole scenes where he's making his own fire and we see the entire process of him getting the logs and putting it into the fireplace and then stoking it's just like I don't care about this. Is the reason why this movie is bloated and 3 hours long. Like we don't need to humanize Lincoln. He's a great man and we should relish in that.
Mm, yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I didn't intend to start turning this into a critique of Lincoln, but there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he did things like Spielberg did things like War Horse, which was just a weird movie.
I didn't. I didn't see it. I couldn't. I just didn't care. Like,
Yeah,
why are you making this? Why are you doing
and
these weird movies for? But maybe he's scratching an itch. I don't
yeah,
know.
maybe it is. I mean, The Terminal I found unwatchable, and
That's,
it was hard to get through that
there's
movie.
another
It
one.
was so
See, I
bad.
forgot some of these. I forgot. I accidentally saw some of these movies. And I put them in the back of my mind like I haven't seen them, but now you brought them up. Like,
Yeah,
yes,
well, I
The
mean,
Terminal is
this
another
is
one.
this is what I do. I just like store all of this useless information. I can't cure cancer, but you want me to name every Spielberg movie for the last 50 years? Sure, let's go down this road, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he did, obviously most recently he did the West Side Story remake, and I'm like, why are we remaking this movie in the first place? Like,
Why?
you
Why?
know, so.
And then what's the other one? Game Over. What's the other one where it takes place in the
Oh,
virtual
Ready
worlds for the
Player
game?
One. Oh, do not even.
Oh, jeez.
I,
Why? He doesn't even. If you're making a gamer movie, you should be a gamer yourself. And to me, it seemed obvious that he just bought a bunch of licenses and made a
yeah.
film
I
off
think
a book.
the biggest problem with that movie is that the source material may be one of the worst books ever written in the history of the universe. Like, I would rather read Mein Kampf than read Ready Player One again.
Oh my god.
Um, it is badly
Yeah.
written, riddled with typos. The plot line is incomprehensible. There's no character growth, no actual motivation. The whole thing is a dude in a state of arrested development who never grew out of the 80s, who is
Yeah.
just writing a love letter to all the things he thought was cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And it turns out that there's a lot of people in the world who that's all they care about. Because I know so many people who loved that book, and I read that book. I read that book cover to
Really?
cover.
Wow, you read it. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
more power to you, man.
yeah, well, I mean, I heard a bunch of people loved it, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, well, you loved it. I'll read this book. So I bought it,
Mm-hmm.
and I started reading. I'm like, this is garbage. This is the worst thing ever.
See,
But it's
see,
what,
this.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call you out. So I hate to do this, Eric,
No,
but
no,
this
no.
is
I
what
know exactly what you're about to say. Go ahead. Oh, I lost you.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with this. Like you read book. I mean, hello?
Yeah, well, you
Oh
froze for a
no.
second. No, no, are you back?
I think I'm back. I just have
Okay.
internet connection unstable. Maybe because I'm just going.
Yeah, your
you know,
brain
like,
is like, and I know
yeah.
where you're going with this. I will quit a
Yes,
game
because
immediately, but I mean, but okay, this is the exception that proves the rule. I will occasionally hate play something, or hate watch something, or hate
okay.
read something,
All right.
and I do it specifically for the intent, so that when I just go off the deep end and
You
like
are
just
fully
just
credited.
rail against it, rage
You're
against the
fully.
machine, I'm
Yeah.
fully accredited. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. See,
Right.
this is what we did with Spider-Man a while back. Like, I wanted to make sure we're fully accredited to critique it and hate it as
Yeah.
much. I don't know if you hated it, but
No, I
But
hated it.
yes.
No, I
Okay.
loathe that movie.
Okay. So there we go. So with this one, but what compelled you to keep reading it? Like I don't
Well, because I
understand.
knew so many people who loved it and were waiting for me
Yeah.
to talk about it,
Mhm.
and I knew that if I started ragging on it without having read it, they were like, "Well, did you even read it? Did you get to this part? It gets good on this chapter, right?" Like, and so I'm
Oh
like,
man.
"No, I'm going to read this thing cover to cover. I'm going to have a fucking, excuse me, white paper on why this is the worst book ever written."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it was one of those few things that I completed out of hatred. So
Wow.
yeah. Anyway,
Well,
that was
yeah.
yeah. So that was a freewheeling all over the place conversation.
It's funny. It's kind of fun to have those on occasion. Uh, just to kind of get it out.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's
just a
therapeutic.
freewheeling, no hold bards hate fest
Yeah.
on Ready Player One and Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. Um, I know we're kind of bumping up to our normal time. I know
Well,
we're
we're
kind of
well
in a
past it at this point. I mean, we
yeah.
don't have any hard and fast rules. More recently, I've sort of started taking the attitude of when we run out of things to say, then we'll. Excuse me, I'm finally going through puberty. When we run out of things to say, then we run out of things to say, and we can wrap it
Yeah,
up.
sure,
So, I mean,
sure.
I prefer not to go over an hour. I think our hard limit is an hour, but anywhere between 30 and an hour, I'm
Yeah.
happy with. So,
Um, I think for tonight we'll stop here. I mean, it's not like we ran out of things to say, but we have more things to say. We can always just put it for next week, I guess.
sure.
But
Well, next week I
uh,
won't be here.
oh, that's right.
I will be in another country next week. So,
Okay, so I think for next week I'm gonna try to go solo, and I have some ideas of what I'll be working on, but I'll just go solo and silent, and I'll post something up,
okay.
whatever, you know.
Sounds good to me.
But when you get back, well, if you're out of the country and you come back, there'll be more stories to talk about then too.
We'll
Maybe
see.
who
Yeah, I
knows?
mean, I'm gonna start a land war.
Oh, great!
Yeah, so I'll let you
Again,
know how that goes. Well, sometimes.
huh? Yeah.
Look, the United States and Canada has been at peace for too long, my friend. Too long.
Yeah, yeah, and Canada's slowly creeping up to getting the cool meters going over to Canada's side more than us now.
Oh
These
yeah,
days, it feels like
it feels
they get
like
more
it,
cool.
right?
They get more coolness meter these days. Seems like, but yeah, cool, cool.
So
Well,
it'll be a good trip. I'm visiting a friend out in Victoria, BC. Um, he's one of my oldest friends. He's the guy that he moved to Canada. He used to live in Mexico. He's the guy
mhm.
that I would go and just crash on his couch in Mexico for a week or two. So I'm doing a week in Victoria. I've been to Victoria, so the newness factor isn't there.
Oh, okay.
But no,
But
I love Victoria. It's a beautiful little city. So I'm looking forward to heading over there
cool,
for a bit.
cool.
But yeah, why don't we real quick take a look at where you're at here and wrap it up for the evening, and then we'll pick it back up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds good. So for this evening, so yeah, I've got this pose. This pose is now blocked out, and I have her stumbling towards Tinsel
Mm-hmm.
to feed her, and then we'll do a close up where she will kind of get it in and out. You notice that I took out the body and stuff like that. I really want to focus on just the hands, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to exaggerate this whole thing, and I'll probably stretch it out like this or something. I don't know yet. I'll play with this. This is what I'm going to be playing with.
No, cheating it is always a
Yeah,
good thing. I mean, you got to do
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't want and then she'll plug it in because I want Tinsel to kind of be the central focus for the only human character to psychologically connect with,
Mm-hmm.
eye wise. Like you see one set of eyes. If you see her face here, I don't want any competition. I want to go, oh, well, my eyes will go at least look at Tinsel a little bit. Oh, she's getting fed. You don't get any. You don't have to read less. I want a simplification for this shot. That's why
Absolutely.
I deleted.
Well, I mean, I also feel like if
Animal.
you have Calamity creeping in just off the side of the frame, the composition looks really weird because you're just going to get the lower
Yes.
part of her jaw,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it'll just
Exactly.
it would be weird to see her only partially in the frame like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, so that's where I'm at. But yeah, this whole scene is kind of there's a lot of blocking that's going on. There's some size issues. You see this big size jump.
Yeah, I
gotta
see that.
I gotta
Yeah.
eventually massage this stuff. But my main goal for rough animation pass was to get my key poses in, and I've got everything I need, all the basic toolkits here for me to do the whole shot. Let's watch a little. She jumps off the bike, turns, looks, gets the thing. almost there, man.
That's a freaking cartoon, man. That's a freaking cartoon.
So happy accidents, all that stuff, everything all mixed in together, and some drawing and animation, some tween, some hand drawn stuff, whatever. But cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe by next time you come out, when you go out of the country and you come back, maybe you'll have Rabbids wrapped up on your belt. We could talk more about the ending.
yeah, and I'll also by that point have seen the Bob's Burgers movie, so we can talk about that. I don't know. I don't think you're a Bob's Burger fan, but
I'm not, sadly. I
yeah,
appreciate it as an animated cartoon. I just haven't sat down and watched the cartoon, but
yeah,
obviously it's another one's cult favorite type thing.
it's
Like
great.
South Park.
Yeah, it's my ex-girlfriend's favorite show, and
Mhm.
like I've watched it since season 1, but God,
Mhm.
she was passionate about it, and
Mhm.
so I rewatched the whole series, and we would just sit on my couch and just rewatch episodes over and over and over again. It's
Wow.
like one of my great memories that I had with her.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I'm looking forward to the movie because I'm like an addict, a Bob's Burger addict now.
Wow. Cool.
So,
All right.
but all right, well, we'll call it there. And that's about right. Just thinking if there's anything else to do. I think we've said it. Oh, there it is. I knew I was forgetting something. As always, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel or heading over to our Patreon site and subscribing there and helping us make this cartoon. You can find it by going to Patreon or just hitting calamityjane.rocks in your URL bar on your favorite browser. Take it right to our Patreon site. With every dollar we get, we can make this cartoon faster and make more of them. So please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe out there. I will see you in a couple of weeks. James will probably see you next week. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.